Hey everyone, I'm John from Let's Talk, and today we're going to be talking about the 2021 James Wan directed film, *Malignant*, and its new 4K Blu-ray release, and why that is so controversial right now. But before we get into all that, if you're a fan of 4K Blu-ray reviews, film reviews, TV reviews, and some game reviews sprinkled in here and there, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on. So *Malignant* originally came out on September 10, 2021 and was one of those HBO Max day and date releases. So originally it was released both in theaters and on HBO Max on the same day, so it didn't make as much money at the box office as it originally intended. So this one kind of flew under the radar for a lot of people last year, but I saw it the first night it came out on HBO Max and I fell in love with this film. So this is James Wan's homage to Dario Argento and a lot of Italian giallo films that came out in the 70s. And it really has that feel to it, right down to some of the lighting and some of the shots that are done in this, like the dark red lighting. That is very much a Suspiria kind of lighting situation, and it really felt it, and you can really tell that James Wan is just a huge fan of this kind of horror. And James Wan is one of our modern day best horror directors. He truly loves the genre. He's made such classic films as the first two Conjuring films and the first two Insidious films, and he's also the director of 2002's Saw. And along with him and Mike Flanagan and Lee Winnell, I think they're the top three horror directors working today as far as making mainstream horror films, whereas like guys like Robert Eggers and Ari Aster are making more of the art house horror films that kind of get more attention critically, while these get more attention commercially. And I really did enjoy this film. I had a lot of fun with it. I think that a lot of people kind of missed the boat on this. They saw some of the acting and it was very cheesy, but I don't think they understood that the acting was cheesy intentional. So this film is led by Annabelle Wallis. She plays a woman who is having a hard time getting pregnant. In the beginning of the film, we see that her and her husband are having problems in their relationship and that she is pregnant, but she's miscarried in the past. And at one point, he gets up, because he's a physically abusive boyfriend and that kind of character, and he gets up, throws her against the wall, slams her head against the back wall that we see is bleeding, and punches her in the stomach. She miscarries again. So I don't want to go too far into this. I think if you go into this film as cold as possible, you'll love this even more. So what I'm going to talk about as far as the rest of the film is going to be full spoilers. So if you haven't seen *Malignant*, this is your warning, because I went into this without ever seeing a trailer, and believe me, I walked out of this film, or out of my living room, pretty shocked by what I saw, because I just had so much fun with it. So I can definitely give you a full recommendation, but come on back to the video after you've seen *Malignant*. So now that that's out of the way, as we know, our lead character, Madison, has an imaginary friend. Or, so we believe is imaginary, Gabriel. Turns out that Gabriel is actually living inside of her head. She is a conjoined twin with him, but originally, as we find out throughout the movie, they tried to remove him, or cut that cancer out, and it doesn't happen. They dug what they could out of him because they share a brain. Unfortunately, when her piece of shit husband slams her head against the wall, she unlocks Gabriel. And Gabriel now wants revenge. And he's going around and he's getting it. But we don't know that that's Gabriel. We all believe that it's kind of a two-personality thing where Madison or Maddie is seeing what she's doing or one of her other personalities is doing, and that's what we're led to believe throughout this whole thing, is that she has two personalities, or that's not even her, that it's someone else or some kind of ghostly figure. And I like that mystery unwinding as the film goes on, and when you go watch it for a second time, you really can actually see the hints that were laid out for you, and it's all done in a kind of a cheesy kind of manner. Like, the acting isn't great, but like I said, I felt like that was intentional, and I just had a lot of fun watching this movie. Even for the second time watching this 4K, I had a great time watching it. It's just a fun horror movie, and it's just shot very well. Like, there's a lot of 360 shots in this, and a lot of like really cool special effects. It just felt like James Wan put all of his effort into this. This was something that he really wanted to make, and it just shows on the screen. Because when a film is shot like this, like, we've seen that he has a great eye with the camera and what he wants to get out of his actors, and it's done perfectly here. Police station scene at the end is incredible. There is so much gore, and it's just so brutal, and the way it's shot, because we get it from every angle, because they'll spin it around the room front to back, and the lighting just works so well with it. And the score, it's got a very like synthesizer kind of used score, which for me, you know, I'm gonna buy right in. I know a lot of people, that's like really hit or miss. You either love it or hate it. I never find people who are indifferent to it, but it worked fantastically for me. I was kind of disappointed to find out that a lot of people didn't like this movie. It's only got a 52% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, which means that critics actually like this one more. And I was surprised. I thought that people would go into this and they would just have a lot of fun, because that's what I did. It was just a fun horror movie. It came out in the fall of last year. It really was perfect for spooky season, so I thought it was just a great film, and I can recommend the film very highly. And just one last note on the film itself. In the beginning, we find out that Madison works for, she gives tours of the city that's underneath Seattle, that apparently they built Seattle City on top of that. There's a horror movie right there. I think they should really look into writing something about about people living underneath the city. I mean, you could argue that Us already did that, but I think that's just, you could just write that yourself. I thought that was pretty cool that they threw that into, and, you know, they never come back to it, but you know, they kind of set it up like they might, and, you know, that's just a nice little bait and switch. But enough talking about the film. It's definitely a thumbs up. From me, it's a great film, and you'll have a great time watching it. It's definitely one of those Saturday night kind of turn the lights off, make yourself some popcorn, and enjoy a movie kind of deal. We unfortunately now have to talk about the 4K Blu-ray, so let's dive right into that. So *Malignant* just got its release of a 4K Blu-ray. Now you're probably saying, why so long after the September 10th initial release of the actual film on HBO Max and in theaters? This actually had a Blu-ray release, but not a 4K release last year, which is very strange. You don't see that often where they'll release the Blu-ray well in advance of the 4K, but that's what they did here. And it's a very strange decision, and it's kind of a, I don't want to say like a spit in the face, but it's definitely unfortunate that they would do that, especially to the collector, because people probably ran out who want to collect horror films, and they grabbed the Blu-ray thinking that there's probably not going to be a 4K release, because usually when that happens, more than likely the 4K release we would get would be from like Shout Factory or Arrow Video, like many years down the line. But Warner Brothers actually double dipped on this, and they did the Blu-ray release, and all they really did was do a transfer to a 4K disc, threw some HDR on it, and then released this as a 4K disc for $25 on sale. So that's very unfortunate, and I don't like that as far as a business standpoint, where it just kind of feels like you're trying to get double the amount of money that people, you know, who bought the Blu-ray now feel like they have to upgrade to the 4K to really see what exactly they were trying to do with this. And for that, I can honestly say, you don't need to upgrade to the 4K if you have the Blu-ray. Now, if you waited it out and you haven't bought the 4K yet, and you've only seen this on the HBO Max stream like I have, I would say definitely go out and get this 4K. It's actually looked a lot better than the stream I saw it on, but this isn't an amazing 4K. Now, honestly, it's pretty good. It's just your regular studio release 4K. Really what you're getting in here is a very straightforward bare bones package. There is only a 4K Blu-ray disc in there with nothing on it except for the 4K itself. You can change the audio options, and you can change the subtitles. And then you have a Blu-ray on there where you can watch the film on Blu-ray. You can change the audio options, and then there is one special feature on there, which is just James Wan's Visions. That's what it's called. It's 14 minutes long, and that's the only special feature on this entire package. And that is exactly what was on the Blu-ray. Same thing with the audio. There is no Dolby Atmos track on this. All you're getting is the DTS HD 5.1 that it was already on the Blu-ray disc. So if you have the Blu-ray, you're not getting anything new except for HDR10, because there is no Dolby Vision, and that is the only difference. You're going to obviously go up in resolution from 1080p to 4K, but that is the only difference you're going to be getting. I have the Blu-ray in here, but I can only imagine that it's just not a huge jump from that Blu-ray to the 4K. Definitely not something that you're going to notice with the naked eye, and I don't think you have to upgrade to the 4K if you have that Blu-ray. So definitely, if you don't have the 4K, or you don't have the Blu-ray rather, you can upgrade and just get the 4K as your first option, because, you know, there's no reason, unless for the fact that you can actually get that Blu-ray on sale, which I believe right now it's $12.99, and this is $24.99 as the 4K. Now, should you buy the Blu-ray and skip the 4K? That's going to come down to personal preference, really, because for me, I always want to get the 4K if it's available. It's just how my mind works, but you really probably don't need it unless you wait it out, and then this will probably go on sale, and you can buy *Malignant if it's like a $14.99 sale. Definitely grab the 4K if you can. The Blu-ray will probably still be cheaper, so it's going to come down to personal preference. I don't think there's that big of a difference between the 4K and the Blu-ray, so it's just as far as a collector, what you would prefer to have in your collection. And just one last thing on the audio, it's pretty good. It's nothing special, like I said. That's really just everything I can say about this entire package, is that everything is pretty good. It's not offensive. The only thing that's really just upsetting is that the Blu-ray was released months in advance of the 4K without any warning that they were going to actually be released, that they would actually even be releasing a 4K. So that is just the only disappointing thing, and you know, it's just your run-of-the-mill Warner Brothers studio released 4K Blu-ray. You're not going to be getting anything special here. I can recommend it. It's definitely the best it's gonna look as far as right now goes, but in the future, who knows? You might get something from Arrow Video Shout Factor that really gives this the love that it deserves because it's a very good film. I guess it's a recommendation, but it's not a wholehearted one if you guys get what I'm saying, you know. Look for it on sale is the best I could say. Don't think I forgot, guys, that it's Friday, and that means we actually have our digital code giveaway, and we have to ask that question today. And today's question is gonna be, what is your favorite 70s horror film? I figured in honor of James Wan making a Dario Argento-inspired Giallo horror film, we would ask, what is your favorite 70s horror film? It can be any, and if you're not a fan of 70s horror, don't feel bad, just drop your favorite horror film ever in the comments section below. But we're specifically asking, what is your favorite 70s horror film? And all you have to do is answer that question in the comments section, and you're automatically entered in a chance to win one of our digital codes. And this week we're giving away 4, guys. It's your choice if you win when you come back to Monday's video, so it's either going to be the Batman, Top Gun, Malignant, and the Untouchables. You get to choose from one of those 4 digital codes. So make sure you guys come back to Monday's video where I'll be spinning my magic wheel, and and if you are the lucky winner, you'll get a chance to pick one of those digital codes. And as always, guys, thanks for joining me here on another episode of Let's Talk. Make sure you guys enjoy your weekend, and tell all your friends.